What food does your mom make better than anybody who has ever existed in the history of the universe? Someone should launch a show called Mom Food Showdown or Gram Nani Vova's Showdown, but they'd have to bring their own pans because that's where the magic happens. Or Iron Grandma. I actually had a whole cookbook planned out years ago called Just Like Mom Used to Make, where I wanted to compare multiple generations of similar dishes found in a family. I even had started collecting recipes from my family for it, but then the internet kinda killed the cookbook industry, and I gave up that dream. Strudel with poppy seeds. I'm not a big fan of sweet food, but this I could eat every single day. Are you talking about mokachin? Sticky toffee pudding could be something to do with the full pound of butter she uses, but who can say? Yes, the secret ingredient is always butter. And love, sure, but also butter. Reminds me of the time I tried making butter popcorn with my mom. We failed miserably, of course, but we tried. We ended up with a big mass of popcorn and butter a bit bigger than a tennis ball. My mom had to step out, nature called, and you can bet her I ate that sucker in one bite. It was fun being 9. I married into a Ukrainian family, and my mother-in-law and wife make potato cheese pierogies for Christmas and Thanksgiving each year from scratch, and there's nothing like them. You think you like pierogies, and then you have a homemade one, and suddenly you can hear colors. If you want a pierogi varaniki, go to a Ukrainian church. They make them on Saturday. It also supports the church and charity. Little old babushka make them by hand. Learned these from my grandma. Started helping when I was 7. Oddly, my mom never desired to learn how, but she says mine are now better than her mom's were. I'm beyond flattered. My mom can make the single best roast potatoes I've ever had. That's nice, but I'm still a little sad that you've clearly never had my mom's roast potatoes. That's okay. My mom makes the best carrot cake in the universe. Hands down, it is her own recipe, hybridized from 2 different recipes she had long ago. It is like no other carrot cake I've ever had. I have it every year for my birthday. She has even shipped it to me unassembled, icing in a jar, cake layers wrapped in wax paper and foil when I lived far away. I estimate I've eaten this cake at least 50-60 times in my 43 years on the planet. Sometimes we make it for her birthday too. It is so good. Editing to add that she cooked and baked a ton all throughout my childhood and still does a fair amount. Many other things she makes are great too. Her meatloaf and her chicken dumplings are on point. A pumpkin pie is amazeballs, but if I had to pick one, stellar winner is the cake of carrots. Edit. Okay, you filthy animals. The hunger for this recipe is real and I'm here for it. Let's say that anybody commenting up until 6:15 commit, I will tag when I post the recipe on Rolled Recipes. Otherwise, I will also update this post with the link and the stragglers can get there that way. Let there be cake, son of Edit. The recipe is posted. Well, mostly posted. I am now going to type out the recipe in the comments. The handwritten cards my mom wrote out for me are in the photos, but they were a bit hard to read and then tackle tagging people. But here it is. Huts whoa. Hit me up and let me know how it turns out if you try it, and I'm happy to help any novice bakers with questions, no matter how basic. Don't be intimidated, as some relative of mine said. If it has got good stuff in it, it has got to be good. Revenge of the Edit. There are still some commenters and some who commend me who I haven't sent the link to yet. I love you all, but I am now very tired and am going to bed. This is impossible because my mom makes the best carrot cake in the universe. Gumbo. My mom made the absolute best gumbo, and I've spent the last 10 years trying to get it right because she never wrote down the recipe for me before she died, despite me practically begging her to do so. God, I miss her and her gumbo. My great-grandma was a renowned candy maker and wouldn't write down any of her recipes either. My recipes will die with me. I don't understand why people do that. Let us remember you and carry on your legacy. I make a pretty damn good gumbo, and the biggest trick is to get the roots dark. Cook it as long as you think it needs. Then keep going until you want to give up and amputate an arm. Then keep going. When it looks almost inedible and has a slight popcorn smell, keep going. It'll then get smooth, creamy, and look like chocolate. That's when it's ready. And scoop off the excess fat as the gumbo cooks. That extra fat doesn't add the flavor you think it would. Edit to add. If your roux smells like actual popcorn, not just a slight hint of it, it's burnt and will not taste good in your gumbo. Chocolate chip cookies. My mom too, from a recipe passed down from her mom. So many happy memories of three of us generations making those cookies all together. My mom, too, always baked perfectly medium rare. She had a specific cookie scoper that she always used. After she died, my dad rested her beloved cookie scoper on top of her banana bread. I used the same recipe and it just isn't the same. Miss you, Mom said it. Whoa. Thanks for all the rewards, guys. Totally unexpected for such a simple comment. Raising a glass to all the moms. Maybe next time scoop your flour into the measuring cups and lightly level with the spoon by scraping, not packing down. If you scoop out of the bag, you may be adding too much cause it packs it down in there. Just a thought. There are some things moms do that aren't in the recipe that make a big difference, lol. This is totally a shot in the dark, but next time slightly increase the amounts of whatever fats are in the recipe: butter, oil, shortening. I've played around trying to make family recipes family, and this always seems to make them a little closer. Not saying this is your situation, just a related anecdote. My German grandma, my Oma, used to leave specific ingredients out of recipes that she gave family members. They wouldn't ruin the recipe. It would be some extra spice or something. I learned from her later in her life that this was Oma's way of making sure hers tasted better, so we either had to come back for her to cook it for us or so she could teach us again the wrong way again, and the cycle continued. Rough part was when she passed, there was no secret cache of recipes. She hadn't revealed the secrets to anyone for most of her big deal recipes, all ethnic German food like schnitzel, spätzle, and Remakietsa. So when she passed, we did just lose a lot of that. Luckily, some of the relatives in Germany have the old recipes from her mom and further back, so we got some of it. Thank you all for the baking tips. I don't use cups up here, always weigh the ingredients. I think it's the baking time, or maybe just the fact that things tasted better as a kid and or when things are baked for you. It's still good and I love it. Just always comes with the pang of missing mom. My mom recently passed, and this thread has me crying at my desk. A few months after she died, I thought I was doing better until I had the realization that I would never get to eat my favorite meal of hers again, which sent me into a tailspin. Call your mom and tell her you love her. I'm so sorry. You can get her recipes and make it yourself. I know it is not quite the same, but my fiance and I do it all of the time. Her mom passed away when she was young. This week we made her sausage tortellini soup, and her dad, who lives 2 hours away, was overjoyed to hear that we cooked it. He said he is so glad that his daughter cooks for me like his wife used to cook for him, and in that way, that same love his wife held for him gets to live on through us. To some people, food is just food, but the memories and emotions behind the flavors can be so deep and meaningful. We are cooking what those who came before us were taught to cook, and we will teach our children to cook these dishes for their kids one day. Like love, flavor is timeless. Hug. My mother was diagnosed with cancer almost a year ago, and I thought I'd have time to get all the recipes and everything. But then the COVID lockdown happened a few weeks later, and we weren't allowed into her rehab facility and later hospice to see her, which I think contributed to her rapid decline. I can make passable pot roast and mashed potatoes, and I'm sure she didn't have any groundbreaking techniques for roasting a chicken, but I didn't get her exact recipes, and it'll never be the same anyway. Stew 100, you'll always think you'll have enough time. You won't. Call today. So sorry, leche flan. Even the stuff from the local Filipino bakery is spongy scrambled eggs compared to my mom's. Thick, smooth custard. No bubbles. Her secret ingredient is the tiniest splash of lemon extract. Sometimes she'll put a layer of flan on top of cassava cake, shredded cassava cooked with macapino coconut. Lord, so good. My mother is from the Philippines. Her adobo is something magical and out of this world. When my wife is mad at me, she says the only reason she married into the family was so that she could eat my mom's adobo. Edit. I somehow forgot to mention her lumpia. Oh Lord, her lumpia is something I could eat several times my own body weight in. Edit 2. It is starting to sound like we need to have a Reddit-wide Filipino cook-off as soon as the pandemic ends. That way we can all win. Edit 3. I don't have her recipe, so I cannot give it out. I think my mother is trying to use it to ensnare wives for my remaining unmarried brothers. After all, who could turn down an invitation for lumpia and chill. My mom's lumpia Shanghai is literally Filipino crack, and no one can convince me otherwise. She has a few secret ingredients and no one else's recipe comes close. Another note: it's wild to me that Pinoy food isn't as widely popular in the States. I've made that argument before, but if Filipinos are the third fastest growing Asian group in the States behind Chinese and Indian, why isn't Filipino restaurants as widely available popular as, say, their restaurants? It's criminal to me since Pinoy food is so good too. Oh dude, I've had leche flan from the store, which is decent, and then I've had some made by Filipino mom sisters. It is like night and day. The homemade stuff is on another level. The homemade is on another gestures solemnly to my username. Hey, my more appropriately named sibling, this made me happy and sad. Damn, that sounds good. Not my mom, but my grandma makes the best fried chicken ever. But my this is I won't eat any other fried chicken except for hers. All the others just disappoint me. I will ask my grandma for her fried chicken recipe and share it with everyone once I've gotten it too. I got the recipe. You were gonna take your chicken, wash it and dry it, then cover it in a flour mixture of salt, fresh ground pepper, and paprika. Shake off the excess. Then you were going to beat some eggs really well. This is important. Dip the chicken into the egg and then back into the flour mixture. Shake off excess. Heat cooking oil Crisco on medium and add the chicken. You were going to turn the chicken every few minutes until it's golden brown. I recommend putting the finished chicken on a plate with paper towels to allow the excess oil to absorb before eating. I hope you all like it. I deeply miss my grandma's fried chicken. Just flour, seasoning, chicken, and a cast iron skillet, but so good. Is it pan fried? Makes a major difference. Learn with her how to make it. I have 2 recipes from my grandmiss, both of them. Now I get to make something from them since they have passed away. I wish I had spent the time into really learning the recipes in detail with them, because a written recipe only get you this much information. A lot of information was in their heads. Honestly, everything. That woman's like a mad scientist in the kitchen. She'll fuck around and experiment, turn out some really weird, gross, downright obscene stuff from time to time, and just figure out what works. And the process ends with something that you imagine the gods would eat on Olympus. Sometimes I just call my mom and tell her what's in my fridge, and she pulls something amazing from my ingredients. Chocolate chip cookies. She uses an ancient family recipe that has been handed down for generations on the back of the Toll House bag. To improve upon that recipe, use old brown sugar, double the vanilla, short the flour by a couple of tablespoons, refrigerate the dough a few hours. Overnight is better. Bake at 400 for 10-12 minutes, depending on your oven. You are shooting for crisp edges and a soft middle. Source: I'm grandmother. Yes. Grandma Tollhouse's carefully guarded recipe. That reminds me of Phoebe on Friends saying Nestle Tollhouse with a French accent. I love it. Literally everything. Even toast. I think it's the love. Love really does make a difference in cooking. When my mom cooks, I really can taste the disdain and resentment. My mother is in her 80s and is still the best cook to ever live. No Michelin-starred restaurant can compare, because they just don't love me despite my repeated pleading for them to. I used to have water beside my bed, and I would ask her to make it because I thought it tasted better than when I got it. I was going to commence something similar. My favorite thing my mom makes is tomato soup out of a tin with just regular buttered bread, because she is taking the time to make it for me. Mac and cheese. No, sorry. My mom makes the best mac and cheese. Crepes. Everything else she makes is trash. I've never had a crepe before. You know anywhere besides your mom for a good place to get one? Edit. My inbox is dead now. You mean everything else is crap? My mom makes hands down the absolute best lasagna ever, and she can almost perfectly recreate the rice, noodles, and steak from hibachi restaurants. Yo, even need your mom's recipe for that hibachi cakes. My mom's lasagna was the best too. She would make homemade spaghetti sauce from fresh tomatoes, cans of tomato paste, then cook the meatballs in the sauce, scooping the grease off the top over the course of the day. She would also parboil Italian sausage. When the sausage and meatballs were cooked, she would slice them into 1 2-inch pieces. Then she would make the lasagna with alternating layers of sausage, meatballs, and ricotta cheese. All of us kids always requested this for our birthday dinner. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it is actually my mom that makes the best lasagna. I'm sure it is really hard to hear this, but it is best you understand the truth now than continue living a lie. For a bit I thought these two were referring to the same dish and was wondering what kind of lasagna has rice, noodles, and steak in it. Whoa, a Japanese Italian mom. That sounds like a challenge, sir. As I decree, my mother makes a better lasagna than your mother. Last night's microwaved. I know. I just had it this morning.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.